Chapter 5. No respectable citizen visits the cemetery at night. The boys continued staring at Udo. Why had he pretended to be deaf and dumb? Muffled street noises carried up to them from the Subura district. The crickets in the grass chirped unceasingly outside their cave. Why did you pretend you couldn't speak or hear? Mucius asked finally. Young masters, you must forgive me, Udo said. If you'd questioned me, I would have had to lie. I was sure you would have seen through that, and I was afraid you would turn me over to the police. Confess, Julius commanded. What crime have you committed that you are afraid of the police? I swear by all the holy gods I have done nothing wrong, Udo said, but the police would have discovered at once who I am and where I came from. He bared the upper part of his right arm and showed them a tattoo, an eagle with two crossed swords beneath it. I am the personal slave of your famous hero, Marcius Patricius Paulino. Rufus shouted. The commander-in-chief of the Roman occupation army on the Rhine? His headquarters are in a fortress across from Cologne. I learned that from my father. Paulino served under him when my father was still waging war in Germania. My master now is one of the most powerful and most feared sovereigns in Germania, Udo said. If the police discovered his seal, they'll send me straight back in chains. Mucius said, You mean that you escaped from your master and fled to Rome? No, young man. My master ordered me here to deliver a letter. How he lies, Caius said with disdain. All slaves lie. If he didn't desert, then why should he be afraid of being sent back? My master would behead me for not delivering his letter. Is that so? Then why haven't you delivered it? Julius asked. Because after passing it over, I would have been killed right here in Rome. Udo disarmed the boys with a smile, then exposed radiant white teeth. By Romulus and Remus, Publius cried, not even a Diogenes could have come out of that more slyly. How did you learn that somebody wanted to kill you? Mucius asked. I discovered it at the last minute. My master instructed me to go to the second milestone in the Via Salaris around midnight. My master knows I'm acquainted with Rome. For 10 years my father was in charge of guarding the wild animals in the amphitheater. I visited him there secretly a few times because I know a hidden passageway into the catacombs under the arena. I went to school in Rome. That's why you speak Latin so well, Julius said. I was taken prisoner in Gaul 2 years ago in a battle against Roman legionaries. Paulino made me a slave. Spare us your life history, Caius said. That's right, Antonius said. We want to know why you're supposed to be murdered. That's exciting. Why not let him talk? Julius scolded. Udo waited a moment. Then he went on. My master said that across from the second milestone in the Via Salaris there was a big open gate I couldn't miss even in the dark. I was supposed to walk through the gate to the first stone building. There I was to wait for 2 men. They would give me the password, and then I would hand over the letter. The password was Coresus. Coresus? Antonius said with excitement. He was the king of Lydia. He was supposed to have been the richest man in the world. By Hercules, stop interrupting him all the time, Mucius snapped. Go on, Udo. I followed those instructions faithfully. At midnight I went to the second milestone in the Via Salaris, then through the gate and looked around for the stone building. As I was looking for it, I got lost in the darkness and fell into a hole onto something soft in a wooden box. I jumped up and discovered it was a dead man in a coffin. A dead man in a coffin? Flavius said, growing pale. Why wasn't the coffin closed? Rufus asked. There are criminals who rob corpses, Julius said. My father gave somebody the death sentence a while ago for just that. Udo continued. I climbed out of the hole and sat down on a tombstone. I realized that I was in a cemetery and was afraid to go on. Why, I asked myself, must I deliver a letter in a cemetery at the ghastly hour of midnight? What kind of men was I waiting for? No respectable citizens visit the cemetery at night. It's alive with ghosts, Antonio said. I decided to hide somewhere around the meeting place and get a look at the 2 men first, Udo said. That was smart of you, Mucius said. What happened then, Udo? He asked. Warily, I crept farther on and almost hit my nose on the stone building. It was a mausoleum. Beside it was a bunch of laurel bushes. I had scarcely crawled behind them when I heard the 2 men coming. Did you see their faces? Julius asked. No, it was too dark. Besides, they were wearing capes with hoods pulled over their heads. I saw only that one man was of average height and fat, and the other was as big as Hercules. The fat one must have been disguising his voice, for he spoke unnaturally through his nose. I was glad I'd found a hiding place. They both looked conspiratorial. They sat on the steps of the mausoleum and spoke to each other. Why isn't the scum of a messenger here yet? The big man wanted to know. He had a gravelly voice and spoke like a half-wit. It's a long trip from Germania to Rome, the fat one said. The mail coach itself is often late. If he doesn't get here tonight, we'll have to wait again for him tomorrow at midnight. The letter he's bringing is very important for me and my friend. For you, too. It would tell us what you'll have to do tomorrow. Say, Potbelly, who are you, anyways? The big man roared. And who are your other chums? None of your business, the fat man said. When you've finished your job, you'll get your 1,000 gold pieces. Then disappear or you'll land in Hades, too. The big man seemed to be afraid. All right, he said. It's none of my business. I just want to earn my 1,000 gold pieces. Who's bringing the letter? Can't I know that either? He's a slave named Udo. So, Udo, a lousy slave. Slaves are more dangerous than poisoned snakes. What do we do with him after he's delivered the letter? The gods must have struck you blind, the fat one replied. Why do you think we're meeting in the dark in a cemetery? You'll bury him here on the spot. Udo smiled again. I didn't take much of a liking to their honorable plan, he said. I retreated noiselessly without delivering the letter and ran through the gate to the street. Those two men must be up to something sinister, Flavia said. I know what they're up to, Udo said. The big one is supposed to murder a high dignitary in Rome. Great Jupiter, Mucius burst out. Did you hear who was supposed to be murdered? They don't know yet. That's why they were waiting for me. It would tell them in the letter, according to the fat man. All he said was that it was a famous senator who was supposed to be done away with. What? The boys cried in horror. Each of their fathers was a famous senator.